Hello everyone, and welcome to Fish6 and I, Uranten's attempt to complete a Soul Link in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. If you don't know what a Soul Link is, it is a two-player Nuzlocke where the Pokemon we catch are linked. That means that if one of my Pokemon dies, then the one on Vish's team that is linked to my Pokemon also dies. If I fail to capture a Pokemon, then we both fail to capture a Pokemon and vice versa. If you enjoy the content and want to support me, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to get videos similar to this one in early access, or just want to support me, be sure to check out my Patreon, patreon.com/uran10. The rules for this run are in the description below, but in short, we can only capture the first Pokemon we encounter on our route. Gift Pokemon do not count as encounters, but we are allowed to use them. We cannot capture the same species of Pokemon, and if a Pokemon faints, then both it and its linked partner are considered dead and can no longer be used in battle. We also played this live on Twitch, which allowed our chats to interact with the game via channel points, which allowed them to do things such as prevent us from healing our Pokemon, prevent us from switching our Pokemon, and much more. If you'd like to see these runs live, be sure to check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/uran10, and Vish's Twitch channel, twitch.tv/vistix. Now, let's get into the run. We begin our journey by naming our rivals after each other and head out to the Pokemon Lab to see what our choices for starter Pokemon were. My choices ended up being Marowak, Latios, and Beautifly, while Vish's choices were Scizor, Machoke, and Electabuzz. I chose the Latios, which chat named Lucky, and Vish chose the Scizor, which was named Mrs. Snips. Comment down below which starter you would have chosen, and also let us know if you think our starter Pokemon will survive the entire run. Now, if you've played Gen 3 randomizers, you know that legendaries tend to have less than stellar starting movesets, and unfortunately for me, Latios falls into that category. It starts off with Psywave as its only attacking move, but what's worse is that its only other move is Memento, which is a move that would instantly kill it and end our run. Lucky wasn't so lucky after all. My rival chooses Marowak, and Vish's rival chooses Electabuzz, and after an extremely close battle with our rivals, we go to the Pokemart, collect Oak's parcel, and deliver to get the Pokedex and Pokeballs so that we can officially begin our Soul Link. On Route 1, we encounter a Geodude and a Houndoom, which we manage to capture, and chat names them Dudette and Bathound respectively. On Route 22, I encounter a Lileep and Vish encounters a Vibrava. I catch the Lileep and chat names it Ugly Jr., a reference to my Pokemon Heart Gold Randomizer Nuzlocke, while Vish's chat names Vibrava Flykiller. On Route 2, we encounter a Sneasel and a Machamp, which, unfortunately, Vish is unable to capture. In Viridian Forest, I encounter Roselia and Vish encounters a Machop, which we catch and chat names Roselia Sherry and Machop Chopper. With all of the encounters before the first gym out of the way, we make our way through the forest, fighting the bug catchers that inhabit the place. Before we get into the craziness that is this run fully, let me introduce you to the legendary Pokemon counter. Pause the video and head to the comment section right now and predict how many legendary Pokemon will we encounter across both games. For bonus points, predict how many we each encounter. The legendary counter increases as I face a Zapdos, which thankfully for me, I have, the Geodude, who is able to easily take it out. My luck then continues to be my luck as the next legendary pops up, and it happens to be an Entei. Luckily for me, Dudette once more is able to take it out with the help from Sherry, so thank God for Dudette. With these legendary encounters out of the way, we dispatch the remaining trainers in the forest. I then head off to face rival 1A, who has a Cubone and a Marowak, but it doesn't really matter as Lucky and Sherry easily defeat him, and move on to our first gym leader of the run, Brock. Brock leads with a Hitmonchan, and I lead Lucky. I decide to switch into Sherry with the idea of using Stun Spore to paralyze the Hitmonchan. On the switch, Hitmonchan uses Agility, which increases its speed. I then decide to go for Stun Spore, but the Hitmonchan is faster than me and uses Comet Punch, hitting not once, but 5 times. And on the second hit, it also scored a critical hit and activated Sherry's Poison Point, meaning that Hitmonchan is now poisoned, and that means it cannot get a second status. Unfortunate for me, but poison is still poison. I switch from Sherry into Lucky and get hit by another 5-hit Comet Punch. This Hitmonchan has got to be the luckiest Comet Punch user I've seen ever. I decide to go for a Psy Wave and the Hitmonchan lands a 2-hit Comet Punch. Its luck had to run out at some point, and it had to run out against Lucky. Maybe Lucky isn't so unlucky. No, Lucky's definitely still unlucky. Psy Wave knocks the Hitmonchan below half health, and I decide to switch into Bougt, who is able to tank a 4-hit Comet Punch before tanking another 3-hit Comet Punch and finishing off the Hitmonchan with a tackle. Brock then sends out his ace Pokemon, a Gligar, and I stick in with Bougt. The Gligar starts off by using Harden, and Bougt decides to use Rock Throw. The Gligar then uses Sand Attack to lower Doudet's accuracy, and Rock Throw already isn't the most accurate move, but it is still the best move in my arsenal at this point in time, so I continue to use it. The Gligar then decides to attack using Poison Sting, while Bougt is spamming Rock Throw. Bougt misses a couple Rock Throws as the Gligar hits more and more Poison Stings, eventually landing the poison. However, Bougt is able to overpower the Gligar and eventually defeat it with Rock Throw, leading to my victory over Brock. Vish also had a very easy Brock fight in comparison to me, and was able to defeat Brock deathless, meaning we have survived our first gym battle in the run without a single death. With our first badge secured, we make our way to Route 3, where there are a ton of trainers we have to defeat before we're able to get to our next encounter. On this route, Vish encounters a trainer with a Hitmonlee. The Hitmonlee happens to know the move Revenge. Revenge is a move that always goes last, and it doubles in power if you hit the target that same turn. Unfortunately, Vish's Machop had hit the Hitmonlee, and it retaliated with Revenge, which happened to kill Choppy, thus killing Sherry the Roselia. Now, this is not ideal. This was very much not ideal. Bougt and Sherry were the two main pillars of my team, and losing one of them could mean disaster for me. Rest in peace, Sherry and Chopper. You'll be missed. You'll be very greatly missed. We don't even have time to grieve our loss, as the legendary counter increases as Vish encounters a trainer with a Regice. The legendary golems are some of the worst Pokemon to ever run into in a Nuzlocke setting, as their starting moveset contains the move Explosion, the strongest move in the game. Thankfully, Vish had Miss Snips who was able to handle the situation without Regice even getting the chance to explode. We continue to face trainers on Route 3 when the legendary counter increases again as I face a trainer who happens to have a Moltres. Thankfully, Bougt is able to take care of Moltres. Speaking of Bougt, I've been relying on her to the point where she's already at level 17, while the others on my team are only at level 11. I really and truly do miss Sherry. We finally make it to the grass patch on Route 3 where we encounter a Nidoqueen and a Lunatone. Unfortunately, Vish was unable to capture the Lunatone and we were left without an encounter. However, as stated in the rules, we are allowed to use gift Pokemon, so we talk to the Magikarp salesman and we get the pairing of Seadra and Smeargle. Chat names Seadra Save Us, and Vish forgets to name the Smeargle. In Mount Moon, I encounter a Hoppip and Vish encounters a Suicune. Increase the legendary counter again because here we go. Legendary Pokemon are incredibly difficult to catch, and even Mrs. Snips having False Swipe and lowering the Suicune's health to 1, it still manages to break out of every single Pokeball, leaving us without an encounter. We make our way through Mount Moon, where I find out that there are wild Latios, so increase the legendary counter again. I then face a trainer who happens to have a Latios, so once more, you know the drill, increase that legendary counter. Vish then happens to fight a trainer who just happens to have, I don't know, a Ho-Oh. So the counter goes up again. Vish wasn't done yet, because he also managed to face a trainer who has a Jirachi. And for all of you people who are ready to type in chat, But you ran! Jirachi isn't a legendary Pokemon, it's a mythical Pokemon! In fact, we're using Mew in the thumbnail, Mew's a mythical! In this run, we are counting legendaries as mythicals under one bracket, so yes, it still increases the legendary counter. You can call it the legendary and mythical counter if you want, but it still increases that counter. We struggle through all of these Pokemon and more before successfully making it through Mount Moon, where I am rewarded with the TM for Petal Dance, which Lucky can learn. I guess Lucky finally became lucky. On Route 4, we encounter a Grumpig and a Coughing, which we catch and chat nicknames Miss Piggy and Coughing respectively. While leveling up my Pokemon, I also run into a Kyogre, and Vish runs into a Latios. So, here we go again, increase that legendary counter. We spend some time grinding our team up, then make our way to the second required rival fight. I lead Save Us, and the rival leads Natu. Save Us is easily able to defeat the Natu with 2 water guns before the rival then sends in his second Pokemon, Pidgeot. I switch to Dudette, who is hit by a sand attack but still manages to hit her rock throw. We take a bit of damage before finishing off the Pidgeot with a tackle. The rival then sends in his starter Pokemon, Marowak, into battle, and I switch back into Save Us, who is easily able to knock out the Marowak with 2 water guns. The rival then sends out his final Pokemon, which happens to be a Coughing. The Coughing is easily defeated by Miss Piggy, while on the other hand, Fish doesn't have it as easy as I do for once in his life with this battle, and has a hard-earned victory, however, with no debts. We then make our way onto Nugget Bridge, where our legendary counter increases once more as Fish faces off against a Groudon. However, that happens to be the only legendary Pokemon we encounter on Nugget Bridge. That is, until we hit our encounters. Vish encounters a Regice, and I find a Vulpix. Regice then proceeds to explode on Miss Snips, which costs us our encounters for this route. Oh, and before I forget, legendary counter, do your thing. We then head to Route 25, where we encounter a Mankey and a Tyranitar. We capture this pair, and chat names them DK and Queen respectively. We then continue to clear other trainers on the route, when of course I run into the next legendary Pokemon, a Moltres, which of course increases the legendary counter. We then finish off the route, defeat the rocket that had stolen the TM that was originally Dig, and then we head into Misty's gym and face the second gym leader of the challenge, Misty. Misty starts off with a Parasect, and I lead Save Us. I switch into Lucky, who gets hit by a Stun Spore and is paralyzed on the switch. Lucky is then fully paralyzed on the next turn, before finally being able to attack the turn after that with Dragon Breath. Lucky is then able to hit a follow-up Dragon Breath, defeating the Parasect. Misty then sends out her ace Pokemon, which happens to be a Corphish. I switch into Miss Piggy, who defeats the Crustacean with not 1, not 2, but 3 Psybeams after Misty decides to use a Super Potion. Vish also happens to have an easy time with Misty, even if he chose to face a Shroomish with his Tyranitar. 2 badges down, only 1 death so far. Let's keep it going. With Misty defeated, it's time to get more encounters and face more trainers on the way to Vermilion. On Route 5, we encounter a Makuhita and a Krabby, which our chats name Tubby and Sebastian. On Route 6, we encounter an Arbok and a Regirock, which, once again, like all Reggies, explodes on Vish, causing us to lose another encounter. Legendary counter, one more time. And this isn't the only time the legendary counter is going to increase, as I happen to face a trainer who just happens to have a Kyogre, so legendary count increases again, before finally Vish faces a trainer who just happens to have a Mew, which once more increases the legendary and mythical counter. We finally arrive in Vermilion City, where we acquire the Old Rod and use it to get our Vermilion City encounters, which happen to be a Pelipper and a Wishcash. We catch them and chat names them Me and Ramen Man. In Diglett's cave, we encounter a Sharpedo and then Aaron. However, the Aaron uses Roar against Fish, which causes us to lose the encounter. On Route 11, we encounter a Linoon and a Gloom, which we catch and nickname Toby and Drooly respectively. With so many new members acquired, we update our teams and then we begin to train against the trainers on Route 11. While training, Fish encounters a Groudon, which increases the legendary counter once more. Oh, I'm not that far behind either, because right after that, I encounter a Registeel. Legendary counter increases again. Route 11 wasn't done with the legendary counter just yet though, as I later encounter a trainer who happens to have a Ho-Oh. Yay! Legendary Pokemon, don't you just love them? Don't you love how often they love to attack us? We finish up the training and in the process, Dudette finally evolves from a Geodude into a Graveler. She was already carrying the team, but now she has 4 arms to carry the team even more. With training complete, we head to the SSN where Vish faces a Deoxys, which once again increases our legendary counter. We proceed to defeat all of the trainers on the SSN and begin our fight with the rival. The rival leads with a Weepinbell, and I lead with Ugly Jr. Coincidentally, Fish's rival happens to lead with a Bellsprout. I decide to switch into me, who is put to sleep on the switch by the Weepinbell. The Weepinbell then uses Wrap to trap me in battle. It then scores a critical hit with Wrap before me wakes up and hits a wing attack for more than half of the Weepinbell's health. A follow-up wing attack knocks out the Weepinbell, and the rival sends in a Poochyena. I send in Ugly Jr., who manages to take down the Poochyena after 4 turns with Acid. My rival sends out a Bougt, and I choose to stay on Ugly Jr. I then switch into Lucky, who dodges a Magnitude with Levitate, before retaliating with Dragon Breath, which knocks out the Bougt. My rival then sends out his starter Pokemon, Marowak, which is then defeated by Lucky with 2 hits of Petal Dance, winning me the battle with no deaths. Vish also had a fairly easy time with Rival 3, so we escape the SSN deathless. With the rival defeated, we get cut and head out towards Vermilion City Gym, where we easily defeat all the trainers before taking out our 3rd gym leader of the run, Lieutenant Surge. Surge leads off with a Dusclops, while I lead off with DK. DK is unable to hit Ghost-type Pokemon, so I switch to Toby, who happens to know the move Odor Sleuth. Odor Sleuth is a move that removes the immunity that Ghost-type Pokemon have to normal and fighting-type moves, meaning that Toby will be able to hit the Dusclops, but Dusclops won't be able to hit Toby. Toby is able to defeat Surge's lead Pokemon with a few headbutts, which leads the leader to send out my favorite Pokemon, Wartortle. I switch into Lucky, who is able to defeat the Wartortle in a single Dragon Breath, which leads into Surge's final Pokemon, a Fortress. I send out the newly evolved Dudette to face the Steel Bug type. Fortress spams Protect, there's a Super Potion used, and there's a lot of Magnitudes. This battle keeps going for a while as Surge keeps using Protect. He heals, there's Magnitudes that are doing less than stellar damage or good damage, but eventually, Dudette is able to take the advantage and the win, earning me the Thunder Badge, the 3rd badge of the game. Vish is also able to defeat Surge without any issues, so I'd say, at this point, the gym leaders are way easier than the random trainers and their army of legendary Pokemon. With Surge out of the way, we decided to take care of many things that have opened up, such as getting the old Amber and getting the items on Route 2 before heading over to Route 9. We begin facing off against the trainers here when I decide to use the move Ingrain against the trainer. Ingrain is a grass-type move where the Pokemon puts its roots in the ground and recovers 1/16 of its HP every turn. However, you cannot switch out of battle once that is done. I, unfortunately, had no knowledge of that last very important detail, and I was unable to switch off of Ugly Jr. when the trainer sent in their second Pokemon, a Hariyama. And that's when it happened. The Hariyama used Vital Throw to knock out Ugly Jr. to send him to join his shiny father in the great beyond, also killing Vicious Flykiller at the same time. For me, Ugly Jr. was easily the worst member of my team. For Vish, Flykiller was definitely one of the better Pokemon he had, so this was not exactly the easiest thing. So while it hurts losing a Pokemon to a knowledge check, at least it was one of our least important peers, in my opinion. Vish might feel otherwise. On the way to readjust the team from the loss, I end up facing a trainer who happens to have a Registeel, so say it with me. The legendary counter increases once more. After adjusting our team, we find and capture our Route 9 encounters, a Skitty named Kitty and a Lunatone named Saturn. I face one more trainer who happens to have a Latias, increasing the legendary counter once more, before we make it to Route 10, where we encounter a Marill and a Kirlia, the latter of which uses Teleport to escape from battle, costing us another encounter. In Rock Tunnel, we catch the pair of Nuzleaf and Typhlosion, and chat names them Leo and Shinra respectively. We adjust the team to make room for this new pair, and then begin our trek through what I would call one of the worst Rock Tunnel experiences I have ever had in Pokemon Fire Red, Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, any Kanto game that this tunnel appears in. Oh my god. I'd even say this was worse than when I got lost in the Rock Tunnel as a kid playing Pokemon Crystal, and I literally couldn't find my way out of there at all. Like, my sister had to come and help me and teach my Arcanine dig for me to get out of there because I didn't have a clue. I was lost. Are you ready for the rock? No. The legendary Rock Tunnel? The tunnel strikes with the first legendary, Entei, which increases our counter by 1, before quickly forcing me to face the trainer with an Articuno, once more increasing legendary counter. Articuno is quite possibly the worst Pokemon I can encounter in this game, as it hard counters the majority of my team. Luckily, with enough confusion luck, bad Pokemon AI, and the team of me and Toby, I was able to avoid a single death from such a deadly encounter. But I'm sure you know the drill by now. Your legendary Pokemon just don't stop, so increase that counter one more time, as this time, I face off against a mythical Pokemon, Jirachi. Dude that was able to tank a Psychic and one-shot the Jirachi with a single magnitude. Whew. Dodging another scary situation right there. The legendary Rock Tunnel then decides that Fish has had it too good for too goddamn long, and has him face a trainer with a Suicune. And to make sure that I'm not jealous of Fish having to face a legendary, Rock Tunnel decides to bless me with a trainer who happens to have a Ho-Oh. Increase that legendary counter once more. We defeat them, but the legendary Rock Tunnel still wasn't done, as Vish faces off against a trainer that starts off with a Kyogre. But wait, there's more! It gets worse, way worse, because the trainer doesn't have one Kyogre. No, they have two Kyogres. What the hell, Rock Tunnel? What the hell? But don't you worry, the legendary Rock Tunnel didn't forget about me, as I have to deal with another Registeel. The legendary counter increases and it's starting to look quite crazy, and we only have 3 badges at this point. Jeez. After finally defeating these Pokemon, we escape from the legendary Rock Tunnel just for Vish to face another trainer outside of the tunnel who happens to have a Suicune. Don't you just love that we have to increase the counter once more? Oh my god, I am so fed up of legendary Pokemon. We finally make it to Lavender Town, where we decide to take on the rival once more. The rival leads off with an Ivysaur and I lead Toby. I switch into Me, who gets poisoned on the switch. Me uses Wing Attack, which does more than half of the Ivysaur's health before taking a Razor Leaf. Me then finishes off the Ivysaur with yellow health before the rival sends out a Weepin' Bell. I send out Lucky, who easily defeats the Grass type with 2 Dragon Breaths. The rival then sends in a Salamence. However, Lucky is able to defeat it with a single Dragon Breath. The rival then sends in an Espeon, so I switch into Leo the Nuzleaf and use Fake Out before finishing it off with Nature Power Swift. He then sends in his final Pokemon, his starter Marowak, which is defeated by Leo with 2 Needle Arms. On Vish's end, outside of a little trouble with the lead Groudon, he had an easy time defeating the rival. We then head to Route 9 where we encounter a Snubbull and a Sandslash, which we successfully catch and name Princess and Jack the Rip, respectively. We then head south onto Route 12 where Vish increases our legendary counter once more as he faces off against an Articuno. We abandon the route to go back to Route 9 to make our way to Celadon City. Unfortunately for Vish, he runs into another legendary, Ho-Oh. Increase the counter once more. We at least have some favorable news for once, as on the way to Celadon, DK evolves into Primeape, making him much more useful. On the final trainer of the route, the legendary counter increases once more as I face an Entei. We then make it to Route 7, where we encounter a Kabuto and a Quillfish, which we catch and name Kabubi and Prickles respectively. Please don't name that name. We then pick up the gift Pokemon, which happens to be a Chinchou and a Tentacruel, which are named Chin Chin and Ursula respectively. That's chat's fault, don't blame me. We collect the HM for Fly and head to the Team Rocket game corner, where I run into a Team Rocket grunt who just happens to have, a Groudon. Increase the legendary counter again. I then face another Rocket Grunt with a Celebi, so let's increase that legendary mythical counter again. However, it is here that I find the tool that truly makes Lucky, well, lucky. Hidden within the Team Rocket hideout is the ultimate held item for Latios and Latios, the Soul Dew. When a Latios or Latios holds this item, their special attack and special defense are increased by 50%, making them both an offensive behemoth and a specially defensive tank. This, however, puts a target on Lucky's back for my chat, as now he has such power, they've become determined to end him. However, the legendary counter doesn't care that I have a Soul Dew, and increase it once more as Vish encounters a Lugia. I then also end up increasing the legendary counter by facing a Regirock. After facing and defeating all of the Team Rocket grunts, we take on the head boss himself, Giovanni. Giovanni leads Latios and I lead DK. This must have been why the Soul Dew was in the base. Maybe instead of leaving it laying around for someone like me to pick up, you should have given it to your Latios. Or better yet, if it was a grunt that was trying to gift it to you, maybe they should have had enough brains to actually give it to you, instead of leaving it laying around and waiting for the perfect moment to try to score that wonderful promotion. Either way, I switch from DK into Lucky, who takes a hit from the Latios. Lucky then retaliates with a Dragon Breath, which then knocks out the opposing Latios. Giovanni then sends out a Granbull, and I send in DK. DK hits a low kick for massive damage before being roared out of battle and being replaced by me. Me is able to defeat the Granbull, and the legendary counter goes up again as Giovanni sends out a Celebi. I switch back into Lucky, who's able to defeat the mythical Pokemon with 2 Dragon Breaths, earning me the Surf Scope. With Team Rocket defeated, we head to the Celadon Gym, where the legendary counter increases as I encounter a Kyogre. I then choose to evolve Leo into a Shiftry after she learns Feint Attack. I then continue to increase the legendary counter as I face a Groudon, and I then increase the legendary counter one more as I also face my sworn nemesis, an Articuno. Celadon Gym? No, this is definitely the legendary gym. After finally clearing out all of the trainers, we're set to take on the 4th gym leader of the run, Erica. Erica leads with a Gligar, and I lead DK. I switch into me, who is able to 2-shot the Gligar while only taking a single quick attack in return. Erica then sends out a Pelipper, and I decide to switch into Lucky. Lucky is able to take out the Pelipper with a Dragon Breath, which leads Erica into sending out her ace Pokemon, which happens to be a Spinda. I switch into DK, who is able to take out the Spinda with a Karate Chop, winning me a very easy 4th gym badge. Vish struggles a little bit, but he also manages to defeat the gym without a single loss. Half of the badges have been obtained. Nice! With Erica defeated and our adventures in Celadon City complete, we head to the Pokemon Tower, where we encounter a Jinx and a Teddy Ursa, which we catch, and chat names them Wife and Stupid respectively. We make our way through the tower and increase the legendary counter because I face a Ho-Oh in a trainer battle. Because of course I face a legendary. I mean, look at the counter. I mean, I'm just saying, just look at the counter. Oh wait, not legendary enough for you though? Increase the counter again as Vish, and I then run into Jirachi at the same time. Mythical Pokemon, increase the counter again. Oh my god, don't you just love this randomizer? They're great, aren't they? They're just the best! Vish also increases the counter once more as he faces a Wild Latios before increasing it one more time. Yes, Vish is finally getting legendaries as he faces an Entei. On the top floor, Vish also happens to fight a Rocket who just happens to have a Registeel, which increases the legendary counter once more. But we managed to defeat all of the Rockets and save Mr. Fuji and obtain the Pokeflute. The legendary counter keeps climbing up and our luck is definitely looking more bad than good when it comes to them, unfortunately. We head to Route 16 with our new Pokeflute and wake up a Snorlax, which ends up being a Charmeleon for me and a Grimer for Vish. We catch them and chat names mine Sun Sun, and Vish names the Grimer Urenstein because Vish is such a wonderful and nice friend, isn't he? We then head to Route 12 for our second Snorlax encounter, which happens to be a Mew for me and a Raikou for Vish. However, I fail to catch the Mew, and Lucky barely survives the encounter with 4 HP, costing us an amazing pair of Pokemon. We continue down Route 12, clearing out the trainers and collecting the Super Rod before heading to Route 13 and encountering a Natu and a Fluffy. I knock out the Natu with a critical hit fake out, so that's unfortunately another encounter that we've lost. Later on the route, I run into a trainer with another Articuno, so let's increase the legendary counter once more. We polish off the rest of the trainers and make it to Route 14. Before we can get our encounter, Vish encounters a trainer with a Regirock, and then he encounters another trainer with a Raikou. Increase the legendary counter again because it just won't stop ticking up. We finally get our encounters for the route, which end up being a Feebas and a Mightyena, which we catch, and chat names them Stupid and Scar respectively. I then run into a double battle where one of the trainers has a Regirock, so the legendary counter increases yet again. However, Route 14 wasn't done with me yet, as another trainer sent out another mythical Pokemon, increasing the legendary counter. Wait, you thought the legendaries on Route 14 were over? Nah, you know how this goes. I then face another trainer who just happens to have a Kyogre, which once more increases the legendary counter. After dealing with all the trainers, we finally make it to Fuchsia City, where we use the rod to encounter an Umbreon and an Aipom, which we catch and chat named Suarez and Spanky respectively. We then move on to Route 19, where we encounter a Golbat and a Venonat. Unfortunately, me hits a critical hit water gun on the Golbat, which knocks it out, costing us this encounter. I really like Crobat a ton as a Pokemon too. We then head to Route 18, where Vish also faces a trainer with a Raikou, so our legendary counter increases once more. We then get our encounters for this route, a Chikorita and a Poliwhirl, which we catch and chat nicknamed I'll Slap It and Slap That Ass respectively. We then head into the Safari Zone, where we decide to treat each zone as its own separate route for encounters. In Zone 1, we encounter a Whismur and a Clefable, which we fail to capture. In Zone 2, we capture an Inkata and a Clamperl, with chat names Buggy and Not a Pearl. In Area 3, we encounter a Weedle and a Wynot, with chat nicknames MJ and Wynut, respectively. In Zone 4, we encounter a Ralts and a Ladybug, with chat names Trappy and Bugaloo, respectively. I also find the Master Ball while in the Safari Zone. With the Safari Zone behind us, we then head to the top of Cycling Road to clear it out, and in the process, Dudette evolves into Golem just in time before I encounter another legendary, a Raikou. I also face a trainer who happens to have a Mewtwo, so the legendary counter increases again. On Route 17, we encounter a Crawdaunt and an Espeon, which we catch and chat nicknames Lugia is Ha and Ugly6, respectively. Now, do you remember when I stated that my chat can use channel point rewards to affect the game at the start of the video? Well, my chat has been attempting to kill the Pokemon for this run for the entirety of the stream where this section of gameplay comes from. Unfortunately for me, their attempts so far all failed. That is, until now. When this is worse than just chat successfully killing a Pokemon. because it wasn't a random viewer or a regular in chat that did this redeem. Oh no 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 no. It was Vish himself. He decided he wanted to troll a bit and decided to redeem no switching on a random trainer while DK was actively out in front. The trainer in question happens to have a Dusclops, which DK being a primate with fighting type moves and normal type moves is unable to hit. I watch as DK is unable to do anything but sit and get attacked until finally fainting, all the while lambasting Vish and letting him know that this is his Tyranitar that he just killed. The same Tyranitar that had been saving him from legendary after legendary. For all of you watching or listening in the background, I believe it is fair for me to assign this death as a Vish death since it was directly caused by him, don't you? Now, this death hurts us in a very hard way, and if Vish was paying attention, he would have realized how bad an idea doing that was. We were no longer low leveled. We had reached to a point where if we had to replace our members on our team, we'd end up at a heavy level deficit since we don't use rare candies. We decided to bring Wife the Jinx and Stupid the Teddy Ursa onto the team and now have to spend the rest of our training time raising these two Pokemon up to the levels of the rest of the team. Thanks, Vish! Speaking of Vish, he happens to encounter a Jirachi, which increases our legendary counter before I encounter a Groudon, which also increases the legendary counter. Cycling Road, however, decided 2 legendary Pokemon wasn't enough and threw a trainer with a Suicune at me as well. We finish off the trainers and head to the Fuchsia City Gym so that we can take on the trainers and face our next gym leader. While clearing out the trainers, I encounter a Mew, so the legendary counter increases again. But thankfully, that was the only legendary in the Fuchsia City Gym, and we then face off against the ninja gym leader himself, Koga. Koga leads with an Ursaring, and I lead Lucky. Lucky uses Luster Purge, which does slightly more than half damage to the Ursaring, which retaliates with Fake Tears. Lucky finishes it off with a Dragon Breath, and he sends out an Octillery, which happens to be his ace Pokemon. I switch to Leo and use Fake Out to deal damage to it. Leo then follows up with not 1, but 2 Needle Arms, which finish off the Octillery before it can actually deal damage. Koga then sends out an Executor, and I switch into me. Me uses Fly, which would have been a 3-hit, but the Executor puts him to sleep, so I switch back to Leo, who uses Feint Attack to defeat the Executor before Koga sends out his final Pokemon, Fortress. I send in Dudette and go for a rollout combo on the Fortress. The Fortress retaliates with Takedown, and the rollout's 3rd hit misses. I then use Rock Blast, which hits 2 times and gets a crit on the 2nd hit. Koga heals with a Hyper Potion, and I continue to spam Rock Blast and Magnitude until Fortress goes down, earning me the Soul Badge. Vish was able to defeat Koga much faster and easier than I. With our 5th badge obtained, we head to Saffron and begin to face the dojo to train up our newer Pokemon. While doing this, Vish encounters a Registeel, which increases our legendary counter once more. I just want to note here that I've been telling Vish repeatedly to stop using the speed up button on his Uncle Jimtendo device, and he continues to do so. This ain't foreshadowing, this is just something that I just wanted to point out. Honestly, because things happen that could be avoided, but it doesn't lead to anything serious. It's just, hey, let's take it easy so that we are paying full attention, you know what I'm saying? So we clear out the dojo and obtain a Swampert and a Nidoran female with chat nicknames Latom and King respectively. We then make our way to Silph Co and begin to face off against Team Rocket. On his first Rocket Grunt, Vish encounters a Latias, which once again increases our legendary counter. The same trainer also sends out an Articuno, which once more increases the legendary counter. The Team Rocket Grunts, however, aren't done harassing Vish with legendaries just yet, as another Grunt sends out another Latias against him. Increase that legendary counter once more, because these legendaries just won't stop. Speaking of won't stop, it's finally my turn to encounter a legendary, as Team Rocket sends out a Mew against me, which once again increases that legendary counter. In the process of eliminating Team Rocket from Silph Co, Vish's Stupid evolves into Ursaring, which should help a ton considering the power he recently caused himself to lose. Rest in peace, Queen. You will be missed. We continue to demolish the rockets, training up our newer members before I finally run into another legendary Pokemon, being Moltres. The counter goes up again, and I continue to make my way through all of the rockets in Sylph before being jumped by another legendary, the third Latias of this building. The legendary counter increases once more. We finally finish off all of the remaining rockets before we head to face off against rival Five-O. The rival leads with a Sharpedo, and I lead with Dewdette. I switch from Dewdette into Leo, who takes a crunch on the switch and his defense is lowered by 1 stage. Leo is then able to retaliate with a Needle Arm, which knocks out the Sharpedo. The rival then sends out a Parasect, and I switch into Wife. Wife is able to take out the Parasect with an Ice Punch, leading to the rival sending out his third Pokemon, an Electrode. This Electrode has got to be the most unlucky Pokemon there is, as I switch into Dewdette and I hit a Magnitude 10, which absolutely obliterates it. Bye, bye, enjoy heaven, Electrode. The rival then sends out his starter Pokemon, Marowak, and I switch to me, who is able to 2-shot the Marowak with Surf. The rival then sends out his final Pokemon, which happens to be the legendary Pokemon Mewtwo. Increase that legendary counter once more. I switch into Leo and use Fake Out, which flinches the Mewtwo. Leo then hits a Feint Attack, which carries the Mewtwo down to orange health before the Mewtwo retaliates by using Disable and disabling Leo's Feint Attack. Leo is then able to use a Needle Arm, which manages to knock out the Mewtwo and earns me the win against rival Five-O. With the rival defeated, we're able to obtain our gift Pokemon, which ends up being a Ghastly and a Groudon, which chat nicknames Dreamer and Cherry Bell respectively. We defeat the final Rocket Grunt guarding Giovanni and begin the second fight against the Rocket Boss. Giovanni leads an Aggron and I lead me. Me uses Surf, which is able to defeat the Aggron, which leads Giovanni into sending out a Dusclops. Me uses Surf, which does about 1/3 of damage to the Dusclops as it retaliates with a weak Astonish attack. Me uses Surf once more, knocking the Dusclops down to red health as it decides to use Confusory, which hits and confuses me. Me, however, is able to successfully hit a Surf through Confusion, which knocks out the Dusclops. Giovanni then sends out a Kingler and I switch into Leo. Leo uses Fake Out to flinch the Kingler before using a Needle Arm, which is able to knock out the Kingler. Giovanni's final Pokemon happens to be a Doduo, so I send in Wife, who is able to defeat the Doduo with an Ice Punch, earning me the Master Ball as a gift for defeating Team Rocket and getting rid of them in Sylph Co. With all of the Team Rocket gang business behind us, we head into the Saffron City Gym, where we defeat all of the trainers and take on our 6th gym leader, Sabrina. Sabrina leads with a Kabuto, and I lead with Dewdette. I switch into Leo, and Kabuto hits Leo with a Mud Shot. Leo retaliates with a Needle Arm, which knocks out the Kabuto. Sabrina then sends out a Natu, so I switch into Wife. Wife is able to attack the Natu and defeat it with an Ice Punch. Sabrina then decides to send out a Haunter, so I switch into Lucky, who is able to defeat the Haunter with his newly learned Psychic attack. She then sends in her final Pokemon, which happens to be a Corphish. Lucky is also able to take out that Corphish with Petal Dance, which earns me the victory. Vish also has an easy battle against Sabrina, and we successfully obtain our 6th gym badge. With Sabrina defeated, we decide to head to the power plant where I encounter an Entei and Vish encounters a Sharpedo from the Zapdos spawn. Let's increase the legendary encounter once more. We catch them, and chat names them Lava Girl and Shat Boy respectively. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. Vish, who was not paying attention at the time, was facing a trainer who happened to have a fortress. The fortress uses bougt, and due to not paying attention, Vish was unable to see that he needed to use the move Fly in that moment to dodge bougt, and instead, his Scizor takes a hit, fainting and killing my best Pokemon, my Soldew Latios, Lucky. This honestly hurt. I've had so many attempts made on Lucky's life throughout the run, and this one was just not even an attempt, it just was Vish not paying attention. And that cost us, quite frankly, our best pair. If I'm being honest, this pair may not have been carrying on each side. Scizor was carrying heavy on one side, Miss Nips. Lucky was carrying very heavy for a lot of the time, so this wasn't an easy one. So rest in peace, Lucky. You really were a truly amazing Pokemon. And while I'm not sure how much you saw of Lucky's performance in this run, Lucky really did carry the team much harder than Dudet did at the start of the game in these latter halves, especially since getting the Soldew. He was truly the lucky star of my team, and with that star loss, we once again have to find new members to fill that void, and unfortunately deal with now being heavily underleveled in the process. Let's not forget that Miss Nips here also died with Lucky, and that's painful for Vish as well, but his team doesn't take as big of a loss as mine. Lucky legitimately was my best Pokemon, so yeah, it's unfortunate. We rearrange our teams and continue south of Fuchsia, where Vish encounters Rayquaza, increasing the legendary counter once more. Wait, did I say once more? I meant that Vish then faces another trainer, a Mewtwo, followed by another trainer with a Latios. I then face a trainer who has a Jirachi, while Vish also faces a trainer with a Raikou. The legendary counter increases not by 1, but by 5. On the next route, we encounter a Lotad and a Numel, which we capture and chat names Lady Fine, and Vish once again forgets to nickname his Numel. A viewer then redeems Skip Cat, so we head to the route below Pallet Town, where we encounter a Torchic and a Donphan, and we let natural selection do its thing, right? Yeah, that's what it's called. We do this so that we have a chance to capture the level 50 Pokemon in Seafoam Island. We then head south from Pallet Town towards Cinnabar Island. On the way there, our legendary count increases once more as I encounter a Mew. But the legendaries weren't done with me just as yet, as I then encounter an Articuno. But wait, there's more. The legendary counter keeps increasing because I then run into Deoxys. This legendary counter loves me a little bit too much, I swear. We make it to Cinnabar Island, we revive our fossils, and we end up getting a Combuskin and a Sceptile, and chat names them both Merlin. We rearrange our teams, and then we head into the mansion and catch a Shelgon and a Mantine, with chat nicknames Donut and Stunkfisk respectively. We then decide to head back towards Seafoam Island, this time from the Cinnabar Island side, and on my way there, the legendary count increases once more as I encounter a trainer with a Lugia. However, I'm not alone, as Vish also increases the legendary counter by running into a Moltres. We run into a Skier with Merlin the Combuskin, where they end up facing a Wynot, but we survived due to a lucky burn. When we finally arrive at Seafoam Island, Vish makes a mistake and accidentally encounters a Chansey, while I make it to the level 50 spawn, which happens to be a Magmar. Unfortunately, my viewer Crumple, who had already used the first Skip Catch, had a friend in Nova Commander waiting in the wings, and he redeemed Skip Catch, ending our chances of getting those Pokemon. We return to Cinnabar Mansion, where Vish encounters a Regirock, which increases our legendary counter once more. I then run into a Zapdos, which also increases the legendary counter, before Vish encounters a Regice, increasing the counter once more. Oh wait, you thought the legendaries were down? Nah. Vish then encounters a Deoxys, then I also encounter a Deoxys, so the legendary counter increases again. These legendaries, they don't stop, man. The counter is already ridiculous, please. There's not much left in the game, can y'all just chill? Just a little bit, please, I'm begging here. We finish off the mansion and head to the gym and face all the trainers to get experience for the Merlins. Vish also faces a trainer that has a Regirock, so increase the legendary counter once more. We finish off the remaining trainers and then face the 7th gym leader, Blaine. Blaine leads with a Licky Tongue and I lead with Wife. I use the first turn to switch into Dudette. I then decide to use Magnitude with Dudette. However, the following turn, Lickitung disables Magnitude, so I instead switch into Rock Blast. The Rock Blast hits 3 times and knocks out the Lickitung. Blaine then sends out a Vibrava, so I switch into Wife. Wife is able to knock out the Vibrava with an Ice Punch, leading to Blaine sending out an Umbreon. So I send in Merlin, who hits a double kick before getting hit with a Confuse Ray. Merlin is able to hit the Confusion and hit another double kick, putting the Umbreon into yellow health. After tanking a feint attack, Merlin is able to fight the Confusion to defeat the Umbreon with another double kick. Blaine then sends out his Tropius, and I send in Wife, who easily knocks out the Tropius with an Ice Punch, earning me the Volcano Badge. Vish had to rely on toxic strategies to take down an Umbreon, but he was also able to successfully take down Blaine with minimal issues. That's 7 gym badges, only 1 more to go. We then decide to go with Bill to the Sevi Islands so that we can gain more experience for our Pokemon and get a few more encounters. We make it to Kindle Road, where we encounter a Phanpy and a Gardevoir. The Gardevoir teleports away, so we miss all 3 forms of this evolution line. The funniest part about this is, I realized while doing the script that I managed to catch a Ralts, so this would have been Species Clause. How unfortunate for us, but I guess it really doesn't matter at this point anyway. Yeah, did you forget about the very large number that keeps increasing known as the legendary counter? You know, that big number that's already crossed the 90 mark? Well, it increases again because Vish seems to really love Raikou, or maybe Raikou seems to really love Vish. Merlin then evolves into a Blaziken, and then I end up facing a trainer who happens to have a Regice, so increase the legendary counter once more. I then encounter a Wild Suicune, which increases the legendary counter again, before Vish then runs into an Articuno, which also increases the legendary counter again. I think that I'm just straight up tired, sick of seeing these goddamn legendaries in this goddamn Pokemon game. But they're not sick of me. They're never sick of me. I mean, just look at my character. Of course they're not sick of me because next is the mythical Pokemon, Celebi, who just decides, Uran, I want to say hi today. Say hi to me? I don't, Celebi. The counter increases again. I'm tired of y'all. Give me a break, please. The game did not listen because at Mount Ember, our encounters happened to be a Regirock and a Blissey. So the legendary counter that just increases again. I choose to run from the Regirock, not risking any of my current Pokemon, which means we miss the encounter. On 3 Island Port, we encounter a Raichu and a Ninetales, which are named Beta Pika and Asia by chat respectively. We also face a Biker who just happens to have a Jirachi, which increases the legendary counter once more. I already know I'm tired of them, so I'm not even gonna go off on them again. They just keep showing up and I just... help. Send help. In the next area, we encounter a Wurmple and a Dragonite, which we catch and chat nicknames them Wormy and Draco respectively. Vish also once more encounters the legendary Pokemon Raikou, which means that once again, the legendary counter increases. In the Berry Forest, I encounter a Regice and Vish encounters a Slacking. We catch them and chat names them Guppy and Gory. This also increases the legendary counter again. Yay! We then make our way through the forest and save Lostel and complete our Sevi Island adventures. So now, it's time to get back to the main adventure. There's 1 gym leader remaining, 6 important battles after that. Let's see if we can make it to the final leg of the game. We head into the Viridian City Gym and begin to clear out the trainers. The legendary counter increases as I face a trainer who happens to have a Zapdos. Vish then faces another legendary and Entei, increasing the counter once more. We finish clearing out all of the trainers in the gym and take on the final gym leader, the mob boss, the head of Team Rocket, the lamest Gen 1 gym leader not named Blaine, Giovanni. However, before we can get into the Giovanni fight proper, I have to tell you that my chat is actively trying to kill the run here. There was literally a war to force me to do Ash Ketchum, versus preventing me from doing Ash Ketchum. Ash Ketchum is an egg reward or channel point reward that I have during Pokemon games, specifically Nuzlocke, that forced me to use the worst Pokemon for a situation in battle. For me, chat actively trying to do this at this point in time is very detrimental to the run. Regardless of what Giovanni may happen to have, losing a single member here would account for hours and hours of grinding that I definitely didn't want to go through. And a lot of them didn't care. So, honestly, shout outs to Gator, Merlin, Sherry, and George for helping to keep the run alive. And shame on you! Yes, you, Crumple. You, Mr. Crumple. And you too, Mike. The two of you, you know what you did. You know what you did. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the battle with the mob boss, the final gym leader, Giovanni. Giovanni leads with a Psyduck, and I lead with Merlin. I switch to Leo, who knocks out the Psyduck with a Needle Arm. Giovanni then sends in a Celio, and I send in Merlin. Merlin is able to put away the Celio, which leads to Giovanni sending out a Pidgeotto. I switch into Dudette and knock out the Pidgeotto with a Rock Blast. Giovanni then sends in his ace Pokemon, which happens to be a Regirock. Increase the legendary counter again, because here we go. I stick with Dudette and hit a Magnitude, which does roughly half of the Regirock's health. The Regirock then chooses to go for an Iron Defense, which doubles its defense stat. Dudette then hits a weak Magnitude 6 as the Regirock uses another Iron Defense. That's not good. Dudette then hits a Magnitude 10, but due to the defense buffs, the Regirock lives on a sliver of health. That's so unfortunate. If you don't know, Magnitude 10 is actually stronger than Earthquake. Dudette then hits another Magnitude 10, which does 1/3 of the Regirock's health. I choose to heal up Dudette after Regirock goes for 2 superpowers, now having it being at a +2 instead of a +4. The Regirock then goes for an Ancient Power, but does not get the Omni Boost, and Dudette hits a Magnitude 7, which manages to score the crit, defeating the Regirock, causing Dudette to level up and learn Earthquake. Giovanni then sends out his final Pokemon, which happens to be a Magneton, which is defeated by a single Earthquake by Dudette. Vish had a much easier time with Giovanni, and now we've acquired all 8 gym badges. Now we only have to defeat the final rival fight, the Elite Four, and the champion to complete this run. Speaking of the final rival fight, the rival leads off with a Ghastly, and I lead Merlin. Merlin hits a critical hit Blaze Kick to knock out the Ghastly, which leads the rival to send out his second Pokemon, a Crawdont. I switch into Leo, who is able to knock out the Crawdont with not 1, but 2 Needle Arms. The rival then sends out a Fearow, and I switch in to Dudette. Dudette takes out the Fearow with a Rock Blast. The rival then sends out a Corphish, and I switch back to Leo, who is able to defeat the Corphish with a single Needle Arm. The rival then sends out Charizard, so I switch back into Dudette. Dudette is hit by a Flamethrower, which doesn't do too much damage, but misses its first Rock Blast. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Dudette takes a second Flamethrower and misses its second Rock Blast. That is no longer fine. So I switch into me, who eats a Flamethrower from the Charizard before the Charizard then switches to Wing Attack, as me is able to finish it off with 2 Surf attacks, almost fainting in the process. Dudette, you carry the run at the start. I can't afford this right now, okay, Dudette? I really can't. Alright? Alright. The rival then sends out his starter Pokemon, Marowak, and I switch into Leo. I start off with a Fake Out attack, and then Leo uses Needle Arm, which does half of the Marowak's health. Leo then finishes off the Marowak with a final Needle Arm, ending the battle with no deaths. With those 2 battles out of the way, we make our way through to Route 23, where we encounter a Jolteon and a Solrock, which we catch, and chat nicknames them Jolt and Soul. We then enter Victory Road, where we get our final encounters, which are a Mewtwo and an Armaldo, with chat names Stupid 2 and Armodillo. This increases the legendary counter once more. But it's not the only one, as Vish also encounters a Zapdos, increasing the legendary counter. I then encounter a Lugia, which once more increases the legendary counter again. We continue to make our way through Victory Road, facing off against every single trainer before the legendary counter increases again. This was caused by a wild Groudon that appeared for me on Route 23 on the way back to the Victory Road from healing in Viridian City. As we continue making our way through Victory Road, I encounter a trainer with a Registeel, which increases the legendary counter. Vish then encounters a trainer that happens to have a Groudon, which increases the legendary counter again. We then face a trainer that happens to have a Raikou, which increases the legendary counter once again. We managed to defeat these trainers without any deaths, but the legendary Pokemon just weren't done with us yet, as I face another trainer who happens to have a Regice. Increase the legendary counter once more. Honestly, I can't wait to see what the legendary counter looks like in the end. While writing the script, I haven't actually been keeping track of how many legends have been appearing, and it's starting to look crazy. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the legendary counter manages to hit triple digits. In fact, it's probably already hit triple digits. Speaking of the legendary counter though, I also encounter a Wilding Kyogre, so let's increase the legendary counter once more. We finally make it to the final trainer in Victory Road, which is a double battle, and one of them happens to have a Moltres. The counter has been constantly increasing, and this has been crazy. Have you ever seen such terrible randomizer legendary luck? We defeat the final trainer and make it to the end of Victory Road. We spend some time training our Pokemon up and giving them some new moves before we begin to challenge a Pokemon League. Our final team ends up being Dudit the Golem, who is linked to Bathound the Houndoom, Leo the Shiftry, who is linked to Shinra the Typhlosion, Merlin the Blaziken, who is linked to Merlin the Sceptile, Wife the Jinx, who is linked to Stupid the Ursaring, Toby the Linoon, who is linked to Drooly the Vileplume, and me the Pelipper, who is linked to Ramen Man the Wishcash. The first member of the Elite Four is Lorelei, and she leads with a Porygon and I lead Leo. Leo starts off by using Fake Out to flinch the Porygon. Leo then uses Needle Arm on Porygon, which also causes the Porygon to flinch. It manages to survive with a sliver of health after a second Needle Arm. Leo hits Porygon with a Feint Attack, which knocks it down to low health after Lorelei has healed it with a Hyper Potion. Leo is then able to finish it off with one final Feint Attack, which leads Lorelei to send out a Magby. I switch into me, who is able to defeat the Magby with Surf. Lorelei then sends out Pichu, so I send out Dudet. The Pichu uses Sweet Kiss to confuse Dudet, however, Dudet manages to fight through confusion and land an Earthquake, which easily knocks out the baby rat Pokemon. Lorelei then sends out a Houndoom. I switch back into me, and me is able to tank a Feint Attack before retaliating with a Surf, which knocks out the Houndoom. Lorelei's final Pokemon is a Lunatone, and I stay in on me. Me uses Surf and a Lunatone survives with a sliver of health, which causes Lorelei to use her second full restore. I then use Surf, which does more than half, and then finish it off with another Surf, winning the battle. On the other hand, Vish has been struggling with Lorelei on her Walrein, but he was able to also win without any deaths. The second member of the Elite Four is Bruno, and he leads with a Weezing and I lead off with Leo. Leo uses Fake Out to flinch the Weezing, and then I switch into Dudet. The Weezing uses Smokescreen, which lowers Dudet's accuracy, before deciding he's had a nice life and decides to explode on Dudet, doing almost half of her health. Bruno then sends in a Krabby, and I switch back into Leo. Leo is able to knock out the Krabby with a single Needle Arm, leading to Bruno sending out a Slugma. I send out me, who is able to defeat the Slugma with a Surf, which then causes Bruno to send out his next Pokemon, an Ariados. Me uses Fly, which does half damage to Aridos as it retaliates with a spider web, which makes me unable to switch out. Me uses another fly, which knocks out the Aridos, and Bruno sends out an Azurel. With the Aridos defeated, I am able to switch into Toby, who hits a return, but the Azurel manages to survive and eats its berry. Toby is able to finish off the baby Pokemon with another return, ending the battle with Bruno. Unfortunately, Vish isn't having such an easy time with the man, who happens to have a Salamence. Vish struggles with Ramenman, who is able to defeat the Salamence, and while Vish does struggle through the rest of the battle after this, he is still able to defeat Bruno with no deaths. That was a scary situation, but 2 Elite Four members down, 3 more battles to go. The next member is Agatha, and she leads off with a Skarmory and I lead Leo. Leo starts off with a Fake Out, which flinches the Skarmory before I switch into me. The Skarmory uses Metal Sound, and me uses a Surf, which does about half of the Skarmory's health. The Skarmory then puts down Spikes, and me finishes it off with another Surf. Agatha then sends out a Nosepass, and I switch into Doodat, and go for an Earthquake, which scores a critical hit, knocking out the Nosepass. Agatha then goes into an Execute, and I switch into Leo. Leo starts off with a Fake Out and gets the flinch, and then follows up with a Feint Attack that leaves the Execute on a sliver of health. Agatha then heals the Grass type with a full restore, however, 2 more Feint Attacks is all it takes to finish off the Execute. Agatha then sends out a Growlithe, so I send out Doodat. Doodat is able to tank the Flamethrower and finish off the dog Pokemon with an Earthquake. Agatha's final Pokemon is a Zigzagoon, so I switch into Merlin the Blaziken and hit the Zigzagoon with a Sky Uppercut that knocks it out, winning me the battle. 3 members in, no deaths so far. Let's see if we can keep this up with the final member of the Elite Four, Lance. Lance leads with a Sandslash, and I once again lead with Leo. Leo starts off with a Fake Out, and then goes for a Needle Arm, which leaves a Sandslash on a sliver of health. The Sandslash retaliates with a Slash before Lance heals it with a full restore. On the turn it heals, I go for a Needle Arm before finishing off the Sandslash with a Feint Attack. Lance then sends out the Hitmontop, and I switch into Merlin. I use Blaze Kick, which does about 1/3 of its health as it goes for agility. The Hitmontop then uses Protect to get around my Blaze Kick, then Endeavor, putting me down to low health as I'm able to finish it off with a Blaze Kick. He then sends out a Sneasel, and I stay in on Merlin and decide to use a Hyper Potion to heal him up. The Sneasel then uses Slash, which does decent damage and leaves Merlin at half health. After another hit, however, I'm able to knock it out with a Sky Uppercut. Lance then sends out a Kecleon, and I choose to go into Doodat. I start off with a Rock Blast to set its type to Rock, while the Kecleon misses its Screech. I then use Earthquake to finish it off, and Lance sends in his final Pokemon, Ashadinja. Doodat is easily able to knock it out with a Rock Blast, leaving only the champion fight remaining to complete this challenge. The champion, our rival, leads with a Jinx, and I lead with Leo. I use a Fake Out and do good damage to the Jinx before switching into Merlin. Merlin is hit with Fake Tears, which lowers his special defense. The Jinx then uses Parry Song as Merlin hits it with a Blaze Kick, which finishes off the Jinx. The rival, the champion, then sends in a Metang, and I switch into Doodat. The Metang uses Iron Defense, and Doodat uses Earthquake, which does about half of the Metang's health. The Metang then misses a Meteor Mash, and Doodat hits another Earthquake, which manages to finish off the Metang. The rival then sends in a Blaziken, and I switch into me. The Blaziken uses Slash, and me uses Surf, which leaves it on a sliver of health. The rival then uses a full restore, as I use another Surf to put it in the red. The rival then heals once more, as me uses another Surf to put the Fire Starter back into red health. The Blaziken then uses Mirror Move to put me at half health. Me uses Fly, and the Blaziken once more uses Mirror Move to imitate my Fly, so I quickly heal to prevent anything that could possibly be bad using a potion. Blaziken then uses a Blaze Kick, which put me in yellow health as I set up a Reflect. The Blaziken then hits with another Blaze Kick, leaving me in the red as me finishes it off with one final Surf. Honestly speaking, I should have done that earlier instead of worrying so much about my power points. The rival then sends out a Mewtwo, so I send in Leo. Increase the legendary counter once more. It had to increase once during the Elite Four. It had to. With the champion fight, of course it has to increase, right? The Mewtwo uses Safeguard, and then Leo uses Feint Attack, which deals slightly less than half of the Mewtwo's health. The Mewtwo then uses Swift, which does decent damage to Leo, as Leo retaliates with another Feint Attack, leaving the Mewtwo in low health. The rival then uses a full restore to fully heal Mewtwo, which is then knocked slightly above half with Feint Attack. The Mewtwo then uses Mist, as Leo hits with another Feint Attack, leaving the legendary Pokemon at low health. The Mewtwo once more hits with Swift, which scores a critical hit, leaving Leo on low yellow health as Leo finishes off the Mewtwo with a final Feint Attack. The rival then sends out a Lunatone, and I decide to heal Leo with a Hyper Potion as the Lunatone uses Cosmic Power. Leo then uses Needle Arm, which does less than half of the Lunatone's health. The Lunatone keeps spamming Cosmic Power as I keep using Needle Arm until finally the Lunatone decides to use Explosion, which not only knocks itself out, but also knocks out Leo, who honestly has been the MVP of this run in the late game. This also knocks out Shinra the Typhlosion. Rest in peace, Leo. You really did amazing. And honestly, you gave me newfound respect for Shiftry. Kudos to you. Now, let's finish this battle. The rival sends out his final Pokemon, his starter, Marowak, and I send out Wife. Wife hits an Ice Punch, which leaves the Marowak on a sliver of health, and the Marowak retaliates with Double Edge, which Wife somehow survives with low red health. The Marowak eats a Citrus Berry, as Wife is able to finish it off with one final Ice Punch, winning us the battle and the run. While we couldn't do the entirely deathless, we still managed to beat our first Pokemon Soul Link on our very first attempt, all while chat actively sabotaged the run. This was my very first video in this format, so please comment below if you enjoyed it and let me know what improvements you'd like to see. Once more, thank you so much for watching, and remember to never, and I mean never, use !Unite in my Twitch chat. Also, before we go, be sure to give Vish a follow on twitch.tv/VishSticks, and also check out his YouTube channel, which is also VishSticks. Once more, thank you all so much for watching, and this time, I really do mean it, never use !Unite in my Twitch chat. Bye-bye! If you enjoyed these highlights in this run, and you want to see how live reactions were, be sure to check out the VODs that are going to be linked in the description below. And if you would like to participate in a Soul Link Live, we are currently doing a Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 Soul Link, and we are currently on our 9th attempt in that run. So if you'd like to participate and be able to troll us like how Crumple and the rest did, be sure to follow us at twitch.tv/Uran10 and twitch.tv/VishSticks.